The $3,200 Baccarat crystal snowglobe hit Zara Mitchell's temple before she even registered movement. She crashed backward into the cafe's dessert display, her daughter's carefully arranged gingerbread houses exploding around her as she hit the floor. Glass shattered. Frosting splattered across marble tile. Her vision blurred, blood trickling hot down the side of her face, soaking into the collar of her worn work uniform. For a moment, the entire cafe went silent. Zara looked up from the wreckage, through the stars dancing in her vision, at the woman standing over her with a sneer carved into surgically perfected features. Vanessa Chen. Her late husband's mistress. The woman who'd been sleeping with Marcus for 2 years before the car accident that killed him. The woman who'd inherited everything. "Stay down where you belong," Vanessa hissed, her Louboutins crunching through shattered gingerbread. "You think working in this pathetic little cafe makes you respectable? You're still the broke widow everyone pities." She had no idea who Zara was anymore. Had no idea that the struggling single mother she remembered, the one who'd lost her husband, her home, her savings all in the same devastating month 3 years ago, was gone. Had no idea about the penthouse in Cheongdam-dong registered under Zara's name now. The black card that never declined. The last name that had changed 6 months ago when she'd signed marriage papers in a private ceremony. Had no idea that Zara's husband, her real husband, not the ghost who'd betrayed her, was Kang Dae-jung, owner of the Kang Corporation publicly, and something far more dangerous privately. Had no idea that in approximately 4 minutes, Dae-jung's motorcade would arrive to pick up his wife and stepdaughter after their shift. Had no idea she was about to learn a lesson about underestimating the woman she'd helped destroy. But she didn't know it yet. "Mama!" The scream shattered the frozen moment. 8-year-old Amaya Mitchell, no, Amaya Kang now, dropped the tray of hot chocolate she'd been carrying and ran to her mother. Her small hands touched Zara's face with heartbreaking gentleness, her dark eyes flooding with tears. "You're bleeding. Mama, you're bleeding." Zara's heart cracked. Not from pain. Not from humiliation. But from the fear in her daughter's voice, a fear that reminded her of 3 years ago, when they'd had nothing. When they'd slept in their car because the bank had foreclosed on their house. When Amaya had learned too young what it meant to be hungry, to be scared, to be invisible. Never again. Zara had promised her daughter that. Never again would they be helpless. Never again would anyone hurt them without consequences. She'd meant it. "I'm okay, baby," Zara whispered, wiping the blood from her face with shaking hands. "I'm okay." How touching, Vanessa laughed, already turning away, her designer purse swinging from her shoulder, the purse Zara recognized because it had been bought with money from Marcus's life insurance. Money that should have gone to his daughter. "Clean up this mess before you leave. And Zara? Next time you see me, cross the street. You're not on my level anymore. You never were." Zara watched her walk toward the cafe exit, her blood still warm against her skin, her daughter's quiet sobs breaking something fundamental inside her chest. Vanessa thought this was over. Thought she could walk away. Thought there would be no consequences for putting her hands on Kang Dae-jung's wife. For making his stepdaughter cry. For spilling his family's blood on Christmas Eve. She had no idea what was coming. No idea that the man Zara had married wasn't the type to forgive. Wasn't the type to show mercy. Wasn't the type to let anyone, hurt what belonged to him. And Zara and Amaya? They belonged to him now. The cafe door chimed as Vanessa pushed through it into the snowy night, laughing into her phone, already forgetting the encounter. She had 3 minutes and 45 seconds of peace left. Then everything would change. Before we see what happens when Dae-jung finds out what happened to his family, make sure you're subscribed and notifications are on. Because what comes next? You won't want to miss a single second. But to understand how we got here, how a broke widow and her daughter ended up under the protection of Seoul's most dangerous man, we need to go back to where it all began. Back to a snowy Christmas Eve 1 year ago. Back to the night Zara Mitchell's life changed forever. 3 years ago, Zara Mitchell had believed in love. She'd believed in Marcus, her college sweetheart, the man who'd promised her forever on a beach in Jamaica where they'd both grown up. She'd believed him when he said he needed time to find his path, so she'd worked 2 jobs to support them. She waitressed at an upscale restaurant by day, cleaned offices by night, and came home to their small apartment in Brooklyn exhausted but hopeful. She'd paid their rent, their bills, bought his clothes, his car, his goddamn tennis club membership because networking was important for his career. What career? The one that never materialized? The one that kept him in meetings that smelled like perfume and lies? But she loved him. So she'd believed. Then she got pregnant. Zara remembered the moment she'd taken the test, hands shaking in the bathroom of the restaurant between shifts. Remembered the terror and the joy fighting for space in her chest. Remembered thinking, this will change everything. This will make us a family. She'd been so stupidly, devastatingly wrong. Marcus waited until she was 5 months along. Until she'd painted the nursery soft yellow because they wanted to be surprised. Until she'd bought tiny clothes and read parenting books and started imagining a future that included all 3 of them. Then one evening, she came home to an empty apartment. Not just empty of him. Empty of everything. Furniture gone. Bank account, her money drained. $47,000 she'd saved over 5 years, working herself to exhaustion, gone. The note he left was 2 sentences long. I can't do this. Don't try to find me. She'd stood in that empty apartment, 5 months pregnant, and felt her entire world collapse. The landlord evicted her 3 weeks later. The restaurant fired her a week after that when she broke down crying during a shift. Her car was repossessed because Marcus had taken out a loan in her name and never made a payment. By month 6 of her pregnancy, Zara was living in a women's shelter, working under-the-table housekeeping jobs for cash, and trying desperately to keep her baby safe. By month 7, she'd saved enough to rent a room in a boarding house that smelled like mold and cigarettes. By month 8, she was sleeping in her friend's car because the boarding house had bedbugs and she couldn't risk her baby. Amaya was born in a charity ward at 2:47 a.m. on a Tuesday. No family present. No husband holding her hand. Just Zara and a kind nurse named Patricia who stayed past her shift to make sure they were okay. Zara held her daughter, this tiny, perfect miracle, and made a promise. I've got you, she whispered, tears streaming down her face. I don't have money or a home or anything else, but I've got you. And I will never, ever let anyone hurt you. She'd meant it with every cell in her body. The next 2 years were survival, nothing more. Zara worked 3 jobs. Cleaned houses during the day while Amaya was in subsidized daycare. Waitressed at a diner 4 nights a week. Took overnight shifts at a 24-hour laundromat on weekends, sleeping on a cot in the back room with Amaya curled against her chest. They lived in a studio apartment the size of a parking space. $850 a month for peeling paint, a radiator that barely worked, and neighbors whose arguments shook the walls at 3 a.m. But it was theirs. It was safe. Amaya had a bed, food, clothes from Goodwill that Zara washed until they were soft. It wasn't enough, but it was everything Zara could give. Then Marcus died. She got the call from his mother, a woman who'd never liked Zara, who'd called her a gold digger despite Zara being the only one with gold to dig, informing her coldly that Marcus had been killed in a car accident. With his fiancée, Vanessa Chen, who'd survived. Fiancé. He'd moved on. Found someone new. Someone who didn't know about the wife and daughter he'd abandoned. Someone whose family had money, connections, status. Zara had felt nothing. No grief. No anger. Just a distant, hollow sense of closure. Until she found out about the life insurance. $250,000. A policy Marcus's parents had taken out on him years ago, with spouse and children listed as beneficiaries. Zara was still legally his wife. Amaya was his biological daughter. The money should have been theirs. But Marcus's family hired lawyers. Expensive ones. They claimed abandonment, argued Marcus had intended to divorce Zara, produced evidence that Vanessa had been his true partner. 6 months of court battles Zara couldn't afford to fight. In the end, Vanessa got everything. The money. The sympathy. The narrative that she was the grieving fiancé while Zara was the bitter ex-wife trying to profit from tragedy. Zara got nothing except legal bills she'd be paying off for years. That's when she decided to leave. "Mama, why are we going so far away?" 6-year-old Amaya had asked from the back seat of the Greyhound bus, clutching the stuffed rabbit that was her only toy. "Because," Zara had said, forcing brightness into her voice, "we're going to have an adventure. We're going to live somewhere with snow and new people and fresh starts." The truth was simpler and harder. Zara couldn't stay in New York. Every corner reminded her of failure. Every person who'd known her before looked at her with pity. She needed distance. Needed to rebuild somewhere no one knew her story. Boston was far enough. Cold enough. Anonymous enough. She'd found work at a small cafe in Beacon Hill called Serene Cup, a boutique coffee shop that catered to old money and young professionals. The owner, Mrs. Huang, was a kind woman who didn't ask too many questions and let Zara bring Amaya to work after school. It wasn't much, but it was theirs. That's where she met him. The cafe was supposed to close at 6 p.m., but Mrs. Huang had asked Zara to stay late to finish inventory. Snow was falling heavy outside, the kind of storm that emptied streets and turned the city into a snow globe. Zara was restocking pastries while Amaya sat at a corner table, drawing pictures of snowmen and Christmas trees with crayons Mrs. Huang kept for her. The bell above the door chimed at 8:47 p.m. Zara looked up, ready to say they were closed, and the words died in her throat. The man who walked in was striking. Not handsome in a conventional way, but commanding. Tall and broad-shouldered, wearing a black wool coat that probably cost more than Zara made in 3 months. His face was all sharp angles, high cheekbones, strong jaw, a mouth set in a hard line that suggested he didn't smile often. But it was his eyes that stopped her. Dark. Unreadable. Ancient in a way that made her think he'd seen things most people couldn't imagine. And sad. Devastatingly, bottomlessly sad. "We're closed," Zara said softly, but without force. Something about him made her not want to turn him away into the storm. "I know." His voice was deep, accented Korean, she thought. "I apologize. I was driving. I needed to stop." He didn't look like he needed anything. He looked like the kind of man who took what he wanted and made the world accommodate. But he'd said the word needed like a confession. Zara made a decision she couldn't explain. "Sit," she said, gesturing to the counter. "I'll make you something. Coffee? Tea? Coffee. Black." He moved to the counter with fluid grace, his eyes scanning the cafe, not like a customer, but like someone assessing exits, threats, vulnerabilities. Zara had seen that look before. In shelters. In late-night diners where people went when they had nowhere else to go. The look of someone running from something. She made his coffee in silence, aware of his gaze tracking her movements. Aware of Amaya at her table, humming quietly as she colored. When Zara set the cup in front of him, their fingers brushed. The contact lasted maybe 2 seconds, but she felt it like an electric shock. Warmth. Connection. Recognition, as if her body knew something her mind didn't. He felt it too. His eyes widened fractionally, the first real emotion she'd seen on his face. "Thank you," he said quietly. "You're welcome." Silence stretched between them. Not uncomfortable. Just heavy with things neither of them knew how to say. Then Amaya's voice broke the moment. "Mister, are you sad?" Zara's heart stopped. "Amaya, baby, that's not." "It's okay," the man said, and his attention shifted to the little girl with an intensity that should have been frightening, but somehow wasn't. "Why do you ask?" Amaya tilted her head, studying him with the brutal honesty of childhood. "Because you look how Mama looks sometimes. When she thinks I'm sleeping. Like you lost something and you don't know how to find it." The silence that followed was deafening. Zara watched something crack in the man's expression. Watched his hands tighten around the coffee cup until his knuckles went white. Watched him blink rapidly, as if fighting back something he couldn't afford to feel. "You're very observant," he said finally, his voice rough. "Mama says I notice things other people miss." Amaya smiled, that beautiful, innocent smile that was pure light. "She says it's a superpower." "Your mama is right. Are you here alone on Christmas Eve?" Amaya asked. Because that's sad. Nobody should be alone on Christmas. Amaya, Zara said gently, the gentleman probably has family waiting. I don't. The words came out flat. Final. I don't have family. Amaya's face scrunched in concern. Then, with the fearless compassion only children possess, she said, You can borrow my mom if you want. She's really good at making people feel better. She makes the best hot chocolate and gives the best hugs, and she knows all the words to every Christmas song. Zara's breath caught. The man stared at Amaya like she'd just spoken a language he'd forgotten existed. That's... He started, then stopped. Tried again. That's very kind of you. It's okay, Amaya said matter-of-factly. Mama says kindness doesn't cost anything, so we should give it to everyone. Even strangers. Especially strangers, because you never know who needs it most. Something fundamental shifted in the cafe's atmosphere. The man looked at Zara, and she saw it clearly now, not just sadness, but loneliness so profound it made her chest ache. The loneliness of someone who'd been powerful so long they'd forgotten what human connection felt like. Your daughter, he said quietly, is extraordinary. I know, Zara whispered. And you're a good mother. I can see it in how she looks at you. Like you're her entire world. Tears prickled at Zara's eyes. She'd worked so hard, sacrificed so much, to make sure Amaya never felt the poverty, the fear, the instability that defined their lives. To make sure her daughter could still believe in kindness and Christmas miracles. I try, Zara said. You succeed. The moment stretched. Outside, snow continued to fall. Inside, something neither of them understood had begun. Then the sound shattered everything. Screeching tires. Metal screaming against pavement. The deafening crash of impact. The cafe's front window exploded inward. Zara's body moved on instinct. She lunged for Amaya, wrapped herself around her daughter as glass rained down like deadly snow. But she wasn't fast enough. The man was. He crossed the distance in impossible time, his body slamming into both of them, driving them to the floor behind the counter as the car, a black sedan, windows tinted, engine roaring, crashed through the cafe's entrance and came to a stop where Amaya had been sitting 3 seconds earlier. Zara's ears rang. Her heart hammered. She was pinned beneath solid weight, his body, shielding them both. Don't move, he commanded, and his voice had changed. No longer sad or lonely. Now it was arctic. Lethal. Stay down. Mama? Amaya's voice was small, terrified. I've got you, baby. I've got you. But it was the man who had them both, Zara realized. His arms locked around them like steel bands, his body positioned so that if anything else came through that window, bullets, glass, more cars, it would hit him first. He was protecting them. A stranger. Protecting them with his own body. Who are you? Zara whispered. He didn't answer. Because the car doors were opening. And men with guns were climbing out. 3 men emerged from the crashed sedan. They wore black tactical gear, faces covered with masks, and they moved with military precision. The kind of precision that said this wasn't random. This was planned. Kang Dae-jung. The lead gunman's voice was cold. We know you're in there. Come out and we'll let the civilians live. Zara's blood turned to ice. Kang Dae-jung. She knew that name. Everyone in certain circles knew that name, even if they'd never seen his face. Owner of Kang Corporation, one of the largest private security firms in the Northeast. Rumored connections to organized crime. Whispers of underground dealings, political corruption, violence handled with surgical efficiency. And he was here. In her cafe. Shielding her and her daughter from armed men who'd crashed through her window to kill him. Listen to me very carefully, Dae-jung said, his voice low and urgent. When I move, you take your daughter and run. There's a back exit through the kitchen. Go out, turn left, stay in the shadows. Do not stop. Do not look back. I'm not leaving you. You don't have a choice. His eyes locked with hers, and she saw something in them that made her breath catch. I brought this here. I put you in danger. The least I can do is get you out. Mama, I'm scared, Amaya whimpered. Zara's heart shattered. This was exactly what she'd promised would never happen again. Her daughter, terrified, in danger, because of circumstances outside their control. 5 seconds, Kang, the gunman shouted. Then we come in shooting. How many bullets can you take before you fall? Dae-jung whispered, so quietly only Zara could hear. How many can she? The answer was one. One bullet would destroy everything Zara had fought to build. Okay, she breathed. Okay. When I stand, you run. Don't think. Don't hesitate. Just run. What about you? His smile was terrible. Beautiful. Certain. I don't run. Then he moved. It happened so fast Zara's mind couldn't process it. One moment Dae-jung was crouched beside them. The next he was standing, his body blocking the gunman's line of sight to her and Amaya. Run. Now. Zara grabbed Amaya and ran. Behind her, the cafe erupted in violence. They burst through the kitchen's back exit into the alley, snow stinging Zara's face, Amaya's small body clutched against her chest. Gunshots. 3, 4, 5. Zara ran faster, her lungs burning, her daughter sobbing into her shoulder. It's okay, baby. It's okay. We're okay. They weren't okay. Nothing about this was okay. She'd just left a man to die. A stranger who'd saved their lives, and she'd left him to die. Zara made it 3 blocks before her legs gave out. She collapsed against a brick wall in an alley, gasping for breath, Amaya trembling in her arms. Mama, what's happening? I don't know, baby. I don't know. But she did know. She knew that violence had found them again. That safety was an illusion. That the world was full of dangerous men doing dangerous things, and sometimes innocent people got caught in the crossfire. Zara pulled out her phone with shaking hands, about to call 911, when she heard it. Footsteps. Heavy. Deliberate. Coming from the direction they'd run. Terror locked her muscles. The gunmen had followed. They were going to finish what they started. She positioned herself in front of Amaya, prepared to fight with her bare hands if necessary, prepared to die before she let anyone hurt her daughter. It's me. Dae-jung stepped into view. Alive. Covered in blood, some his, most not, but alive. Zara nearly sobbed with relief. You're... She couldn't finish the sentence. I'm fine. He wasn't fine. His coat was torn, blood seeping from a wound on his arm, his face cut from flying glass. But he was standing. Moving. Alive. The men... handled. His voice was flat. Dead. The voice of someone who'd just killed and felt nothing about it. Zara should have been terrified. Should have grabbed Amaya and run from this man who'd just handled 3 armed attackers. Instead, she felt safer than she'd felt in years. Come with me, Dae-jung said. My car is 2 blocks north. I'll take you somewhere safe. I can't get involved in whatever this is. You're already involved. His eyes held hers. They saw you. They saw her. If I leave you here, they'll come back. Not tonight, but eventually. And next time, I won't be there to stop them. Zara's world tilted. This wasn't possible. This wasn't her life. Except it was now. Why? She whispered. Why did you save us? You don't even know us. Dae-jung looked at Amaya, who stared back at him with wide, trusting eyes despite the blood and violence. She asked if I was sad, he said quietly. She offered to share her mother with me. No one has. His voice cracked. No one has offered me kindness in so long, I'd forgotten what it felt like. Zara understood then. Understood that this dangerous man wasn't just dangerous. He was lonely. He was broken. He was human beneath the violence. Okay, she said. We'll come with you. But only until it's safe. He nodded. Only until it's safe. It was a lie, and they both knew it. Because the moment he'd thrown himself between them and danger, the moment he'd chosen to protect instead of save himself, safety had stopped being the point. Dae-jung's car was a black Mercedes SUV with bulletproof windows and what Zara strongly suspected was armor plating. They drove in silence through the snow-covered streets, Amaya asleep in the back seat, exhausted by terror. Where are we going? Zara asked finally. My home. It's secure. Guarded. No one will reach you there. For how long? As long as necessary. Zara studied his profile in the dashboard's glow. Strong. Severe. A man carved from granite and ice. Who were those men? Enemies. I have many. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I can give you right now. He glanced at her, something almost apologetic in his expression. I'm sorry. For bringing danger to your door. For disrupting your life. For. You saved us, Zara interrupted. You could have left. Run. Saved yourself. But you didn't. You stayed and you fought and you. Her voice broke. You protected my daughter. I can't. I don't know how to thank you for that. You don't need to thank me. His hands tightened on the steering wheel. She reminded me what I'd forgotten. What's that? That there are still things worth protecting in this world. The weight of those words settled between them. They arrived at a building in downtown Boston, luxury condos with doormen and security that checked Dae-jung's credentials 3 times before allowing them inside. The elevator required a keycard. The penthouse required a fingerprint scan. You live here? Zara asked, staring at the sprawling space. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the snow-covered city. Furniture that looked like modern art. A kitchen bigger than her entire apartment. I do now. I just acquired the property 2 months ago. No one outside my inner circle knows about it. Which meant, you're safe here. Zara carried Amaya to the guest bedroom Dae-jung indicated, a room with a bed so soft it felt like clouds, decorated in soft blues and whites. She tucked her daughter in, kissed her forehead, whispered promises she prayed she could keep. When she returned to the living room, Dae-jung was removing his ruined coat, and Zara saw the extent of the damage. Blood soaking through his shirt. Glass embedded in his forearm. A bruise blooming along his jaw. You need medical attention, Zara said. I've had worse. That's not reassuring. She moved closer, her nurse's training from years ago, another life, another version of herself, kicking in. Sit. Let me look. He hesitated, and Zara realized he wasn't used to being cared for. Wasn't used to anyone touching him with gentle intention. Please, she said softly. He sat. Zara found the first aid kit in the bathroom, stocked with hospital-grade supplies, because of course it was, and returned to kneel between his legs. This close, she could smell him beneath the blood and gunpowder. Cedar and winter, and something uniquely him. This will hurt, she warned, antiseptic-soaked gauze in hand. I know. She cleaned the wounds with careful precision. Removed glass shards. Applied butterfly bandages. Wrapped his arm in clean gauze. Through it all, he watched her with an intensity that made her skin warm. Why did you become a waitress? He asked quietly. Your hands, you've done this before. Medical training. Zara paused. She didn't talk about her past. Didn't share her story with strangers. But he'd bled for her daughter. That earned honesty. I was in nursing school, she said. Before I got pregnant. Before my husband. Before everything fell apart. I couldn't finish. Couldn't afford it. So I waited tables instead. Your husband. Dead. 3 years of being a deadbeat, then dead. Left me with nothing but debt and a daughter to raise alone. She said it without emotion, the way you discuss weather. It had stopped hurting sometime around year 2. I'm sorry, Dae-jung said. Don't be. I'm not. Zara tied off the bandage and sat back. I have Amaya. She's everything. The rest is just noise. You're a good mother. You said that already. Because it's true. She's happy. Safe. Loved. In a world like this, that's a miracle. Zara looked up at him, this dangerous man with sad eyes and blood on his hands, and felt something shift in her chest. Something dangerous and foolish and entirely against her better judgment. Why are you alone on Christmas? She asked. His expression shuddered. It's a long story. I have time. You don't want to know my stories. They're not. He exhaled roughly. They're not appropriate for someone like you. Someone like me? Good. Kind. Untouched by the darkness I live in. Zara almost laughed. I've been homeless. Abandoned. Widowed. I've slept in my car with my infant daughter and chosen between diapers and dinner. I'm not as untouched as you think. That's survival. What I do is. He trailed off. Different. Tell me anyway. So he did. He told her about his family, old Korean money that had transitioned into new American power. About his father, who'd built an empire through violence and fear. About his younger brother, Kang Min-ho, who'd wanted that empire for himself. About the assassination attempt 6 months ago, orchestrated by Minho, that had killed Dae-jung's closest friend and left him with a choice: wage war against his own blood or disappear. He'd chosen disappearance. Let Minho think he'd won. Let the world think Kang Dae-jung had been killed in the attack. But they found you, Zara said. They did. Minho's men. They've been hunting me for months. And now they'll hunt me too. And Amaya. No. The word was absolute. I won't allow it. You can't promise that. Watch me. His hand covered hers, warm and calloused and shockingly gentle. I will keep you safe. Both of you. I swear it. Zara should have pulled away. Should have said this was too much, too fast, too dangerous. Instead, she whispered, why? Because, Dae-jung said, his voice raw with something he couldn't name, your daughter looked at me like I was human. Not a weapon. Not a monster. Just a person who needed kindness. And you opened your cafe for me when you should have sent me away. You both saw something in me I thought I'd killed a long time ago. What's that? The ability to be more than my father's son. The moment stretched. Outside, snow fell. Inside, something neither of them could stop had begun. Stay, Dae-jung said. Not just tonight. Stay until this is resolved. Until you're safe. Zara thought of her tiny apartment. Her 3 jobs. The constant exhaustion, the fear, the precarious balance of survival. Thought of the men with guns who now knew her face. Thought of Amaya, sleeping peacefully in the next room for the first time in weeks. Okay, she breathed. We'll stay. If you're loving this story so far, hit that like button and drop a comment telling me, should Zara trust him, or is she making a mistake? Subscribe for more dark romance, and let's see what happens when Dae-jung's brother discovers where he's been hiding. What was supposed to be temporary became something else. Days turned into weeks. Christmas passed. New Year arrived. And Zara and Amaya remained in Dae-jung's penthouse, existing in a strange limbo between safety and uncertainty. Dae-jung was different than Zara expected. With his enemies, he was ruthless. She'd overheard phone calls conducted in Korean, his voice cold, his orders clipped and absolute. She'd seen him leave the penthouse in all-black tactical gear and return hours later with blood that wasn't his. But with Amaya? He was impossibly gentle. He learned her favorite foods and made sure the kitchen was always stocked with them. He bought her art supplies, the expensive kind, from boutique stores and spent hours sitting with her while she drew. He spoke to her in Korean, teaching her words, laughing when she mispronounced them. He read her bedtime stories in his deep, accented voice, and Amaya fell asleep feeling safer than she'd ever felt with her biological father. And with Zara? He was attentive. He noticed when she was tired and insisted she rest while he watched Amaya. He noticed when she looked worried and actually asked, what she needed. He noticed when she went quiet and gave her space without taking it personally. Why are you doing this? Zara asked one night, 3 weeks in, when Amaya was asleep and they sat together in the living room, the city glittering below. Doing what? Taking care of us. You don't owe us anything. I owe you everything, Dae-jung said simply. You gave me back something I thought I'd lost. What? A reason. The air between them changed. Charged with something Zara didn't want to acknowledge. I should go to bed, she said, standing. Zara. She stopped. He never used her name. Always Ms. Mitchell, formal and distant. Yes. Thank you. For staying. For trusting me with your daughter's safety. For. He paused. For not looking at me like I'm a monster. Zara turned back to him. This powerful, dangerous man who'd saved them, sheltered them, treated her daughter with more kindness than her own father ever had. You're not a monster, she said quietly. You're just a man who's survived things that required you to be hard. But I see the person underneath. Amaya sees it too. Something raw flickered in his expression. You shouldn't. The person underneath isn't worth. Stop. Zara crossed back to him, surprising herself with her boldness. Stop deciding what you're worth. Let me decide for myself. And what do you see? I see someone who's lonely. Someone who's been powerful for so long, he's forgotten what connection feels like. Someone who protected my daughter with his own body before he even knew our names. Dae-jung stood slowly, and suddenly they were too close. She could feel the heat radiating from him, could see the war in his eyes. "I'm not a good man," he said hoarsely. "I'm not looking for a good man. I'm looking for an honest one." Then honestly? His hand lifted, cupped her face with heartbreaking gentleness. "I haven't been able to stop thinking about you. About the way you looked at me that first night. About how you touch your daughter like she's made of starlight. About how you've survived hell and remained kind." Zara's breath caught. "Dae-jung, I know it's too soon. I know you're only here because of circumstances. I know I have no right to feel this way. But I need you to know, you're not a burden. You're not temporary. You're—" He exhaled roughly. "You're the first thing that's felt real in 5 years." Zara should have stepped back. Should have reminded him of all the reasons this was impossible. Instead, she leaned into his touch. "This is a bad idea. I know. We're from completely different worlds. I know. You're dangerous. Your life is dangerous. I know. And I have to protect my daughter above everything. I know. Which is why I'm going to give you a choice." His thumb stroked her cheekbone. "If you want to leave, I'll arrange it. New city, new identity, financial support for the rest of your lives. You'll be safe and I'll never contact you again. And if I don't want to leave, then I'll keep you. Both of you. I'll protect you with everything I have. I'll give you the life you deserve. I'll love your daughter like she's mine." His voice dropped to a whisper. "And I'll spend every day earning the right to love you too." Tears burned in Zara's eyes. When had anyone ever offered her choice? When had anyone ever seen her as more than a burden or a convenience? "I need time," she said. "I need to think about what's best for Amaya. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere." But he was. Because 3 days later, everything changed. Zara woke at 3 a.m. to the sound of voices. Angry voices. Multiple men. Coming from the living room. She slipped out of bed, heart pounding, and crept down the hallway. Through the partially open door, she saw them. Dae-jung, standing rigid in the center of the room. 5 men in suits, all Korean, all armed. And 1 woman. Tall. Beautiful. Cold. Wearing a white coat that made her look like an ice queen. "Can't hide forever, Appa," the woman was saying in Korean. Zara's understanding was limited, but she caught the important words. "Minho knows you're alive. He knows you're here. And now he knows about them." "They're not part of this," Dae-jung said, his voice lethal. "You made them part of it the moment you took them in." "A woman and a child, Young? Really?" The woman's laugh was cruel. "You've gone soft. Touch them and I'll kill everyone Minho loves, starting with you, Hannah." Hannah. His sister, Zara realized with sick clarity. This was his family. "You always were sentimental," Hannah said. "It's going to get you killed." "Maybe. But it won't be today." Dae-jung moved, and suddenly there was a gun in his hand, pointed at his own sister. "Get out. Tell Minho if he comes near my family, I'll burn his empire to ash and make him watch." "Your family?" Hannah's eyebrow arched. "They're not." "They are." The words were absolute. "Now get out before I forget we share blood." Hannah studied him for a long moment. Then smiled, a terrible, knowing smile. "You really do care about them. How unexpected. How exploitable." She left. Her men followed. And Dae-jung stood alone in the center of the room, his shoulders heaving with rage and fear. Zara stepped into view. "She's right, isn't she? We're targets now." Dae-jung spun, and the devastation in his expression broke her heart. "I'll fix this." "I'll." "How? You can't fight your entire family alone." "Watch me." "Dae-jung." Zara crossed to him. "What if the answer isn't hiding? What if it's standing and fighting? I can't risk you. I can't risk her. So teach us. Teach us how to protect ourselves. Give us security, resources, knowledge. Don't hide us away like fragile things. Make us strong enough to stand beside you." He stared at her like she'd suggested something impossible. "You want to stay? Even knowing what's coming?" "I want." Zara took a breath. "I want to stop running. I've been running my whole life, from poverty, from Marcus, from fear. I'm tired of being a victim. I'm tired of being powerless." "You're not powerless." "Then prove it. Make me powerful." Dae-jung closed his eyes, something like pain and hope warring in his expression. If you stay, everything changes. You'll be part of my world. Targets. Complications. Weapons my enemies will use against me. Then teach us to be weapons they can't use. Zara. I'm not asking for promises. I'm asking for partnership. You protect us, we support you. We become a family, a real family, and we face this together. You don't know what you're asking. I know exactly what I'm asking. I'm asking if you're willing to risk letting people in. If you're willing to believe that maybe, just maybe, you deserve love instead of loneliness. The silence that followed was deafening. Then Dae-jung moved. His hands cupped her face, his forehead pressed to hers, and his voice cracked with something raw and desperate. I don't deserve you. I don't deserve her. But if you're truly offering, I'll take it. I'll take you both and I'll never let go. Then don't let go, Zara whispered. Fight for us. With us. Always. They kissed then, desperate and fierce and full of promises neither of them could guarantee. But in that moment, with danger closing in and the future uncertain, it felt like hope. It felt like home. The $3,200 Baccarat crystal snow globe hit Zara's temple before she even registered movement. We're back where we started. Zara on the floor of Serene Cup Cafe, blood trickling down her face. Amaya crying. Vanessa Chen standing over them with contempt carved into her features. But everything was different now. Because Zara wasn't the same woman she'd been a year ago. She'd spent 6 months training with Dae-jung's security team. She'd learned hand-to-hand combat, threat assessment, how to spot a tail. She'd earned a black belt in Krav Maga and could field strip a Glock in under 30 seconds. More importantly, she'd married Kang Dae-jung 3 months ago in a private ceremony attended by the family he'd built, not of blood, but of choice. She'd taken his name, his protection, his power, and she'd given him everything in return, her trust, her daughter, her heart. So when Vanessa Chen, the woman who'd stolen her dead husband's life insurance, who'd helped destroy her life, who'd profited from Zara's suffering, made the catastrophic mistake of putting her hands on Kang Dae-jung's wife? Consequences were coming. Zara stood slowly, wiping blood from her face, her hand steady. Amaya was behind the counter, exactly where they'd practiced for emergencies, already calling the number Dae-jung had programmed into her phone. You have 3 minutes, Zara said quietly to leave. After that, you won't be able to. Vanessa laughed. Are you threatening me? You threatening. 2 minutes, 45 seconds. You're pathetic. You've always been pathetic. Marcus knew it. That's why he left you for me. That's why he gave me everything while you got. 2 minutes, 30 seconds. Something in Zara's voice made Vanessa pause. Made her look, really look, at the woman she'd just assaulted. At the Cartier watch on her wrist. The Valentino heels on her feet. The diamond wedding ring that cost more than Vanessa's car. At the quiet confidence of someone who knew exactly what was coming and was no longer afraid. Who are you? Vanessa asked, uncertainty creeping into her voice. I'm the woman you just made a very expensive mistake touching. The cafe door opened. 6 men walked in. They wore black suits, moved with military precision, and their expressions were carved from ice. They arranged themselves around the perimeter of the cafe in a formation Zara recognized, secure and contained. Then he walked in. Kang Dae-jung. He'd come straight from whatever meeting he'd been in, still in his 3-piece Tom Ford suit, still carrying the aura of command that made powerful men bow. But there was nothing civilized about him now. His eyes found Zara first. Tracked the blood on her face, the torn uniform, the way she was standing protectively in front of their daughter. Something murderous flickered in his expression. Then his gaze shifted to Vanessa, and the temperature in the cafe dropped 20 degrees. Who is she? He asked Zara, his voice arctic. Her name is Vanessa Chen. She's my late husband's mistress. The woman who stole his life insurance money. The woman who just put her hands on my wife, Dae-jung finished. He moved forward with predatory grace. And made my stepdaughter cry. Vanessa's face went white. Your wife. Kang Zara, Dae-jung said, each word precise. Formerly Mitchell. My wife of 3 months. Mother to my daughter. The most important person in my world. I didn't know, I didn't realize. No, you didn't. Dae-jung stopped 2 feet from Vanessa, and she actually stumbled backward. You thought she was still the broken woman you helped destroy 3 years ago. You thought you could abuse her without consequences. You were wrong. It was just a misunderstanding. You threw a $3,200 snow globe at her head. You shoved her into a display case. You made her bleed. His voice was conversational, almost pleasant, which made it more terrifying. Where I come from, that's called assault. And when the assault is against my family, it's called a declaration of war. Please, I'm sorry, I didn't mean. You did mean it. You meant every word, every action. You enjoyed it. Dae-jung pulled out his phone. Ji-hoon. One of the suited men stepped forward. Yes, sir. Contact Thompson and Associates. I want a full audit of Ms. Chen's finances. Every account, every asset, every transaction for the past 5 years. Yes, sir. Wait, you can't, Vanessa sputtered. I can, Dae-jung said simply. I can do quite a lot, actually. Let me explain what's going to happen. First, you're going to return every cent of the life insurance money you stole. Not just the original $250,000, but with interest compounded over 3 years. That's $287,000. I don't have that much. Then you'll liquidate your condo, your car, your jewelry, your stocks. Everything. That's insane. Second, Dae-jung continued as if she hadn't spoken, you're going to issue a public apology. A real one. Admitting what you and Marcus did. Admitting how you manipulated the court system. Admitting you stole from a widow and her infant daughter. Vanessa's face crumbled. That would destroy my reputation. Good. Third, you're going to surrender yourself to the police for assault. Right now. My men will escort you. No. I have a life, a career, I can't. You should have thought of that before you touched her. Dae-jung turned his back on Vanessa, the ultimate dismissal, and crossed to Zara. His hands were impossibly gentle as they cupped her face, tilting her head to examine the wound. Are you hurt? His voice had changed completely. No longer cold. Now it was rough with barely controlled emotion. It's just a scratch, Zara said. No injury to you is just anything. He looked at Amaya, who was peeking over the counter. Are you okay, little moon? Amaya nodded, but her eyes were still wet with tears. Is Mama going to be okay? More than okay. Dae-jung held out his arm, and Amaya ran to him. He scooped her up with one arm while keeping the other around Zara. Your mama is the strongest person I know. And anyone who hurts her will answer to me. You love Mama? Amaya asked. More than anything in the world. Even more than your company? Even more than that. Good. Amaya hugged him fiercely. Because Mama loves you too. She told me. Dae-jung's eyes found Zara's. She did. Zara smiled despite the pain. I did. I do. I love you, Dae-jung said, the words solemn as a vow. Both of you. You're my family. The only family that matters. And anyone who threatens my family. He turned back to Vanessa, who was being restrained by 2 of his men. Learns what I'm capable of when I have something to protect. The police came. Statements were taken. Video footage from the cafe's security cameras, footage that clearly showed Vanessa's assault, was submitted as evidence. Vanessa was arrested. Charged with assault and battery. Released on $50,000 bail that drained her savings. Within a week, Dae-jung's lawyers had filed civil suits. Within 2 weeks, they'd secured a judgment. Within a month, Vanessa's condo was sold, her account seized, and $287,000 was transferred into Zara's account. The public apology was posted to social media, where it went viral. Vanessa's reputation was destroyed. Her job rescinded their offer. Her friends distanced themselves. She'd lost everything exactly as she'd helped Marcus take everything from Zara 3 years earlier. Justice, Zara thought, tasted bittersweet. She'd wanted this once, wanted Vanessa to suffer the way she'd suffered. But now, watching it happen, she felt mostly empty. Are you okay? Dae-jung asked one evening, finding Zara on the penthouse balcony, staring out at the city. I thought I'd feel better, Zara admitted. Watching her fall apart. Getting the money back. But I just feel tired. That's because you're not cruel, Dae-jung said, wrapping his arms around her from behind. Revenge satisfied your anger, but it can't heal your wounds. Only you can do that. How? By living well. By being happy. By showing the universe that what they did to you didn't break you, it made you stronger. Zara leaned back against his chest. I want to use the money for something good. Like what? A foundation. For women who've been financially abused by partners. Help them get back on their feet. Housing, job training, legal support, therapy. Everything I wish I'd had. Dae-jung pressed a kiss to her temple. I think that's perfect. And I'll match whatever you put in. You don't have to. I want to. You've made me want to be more than what I was raised to be. Made me want to use my resources for something other than violence. He turned her to face him. You and Amaya saved me, Zara. Let me help you save others. Tears burned in her eyes. How did I get so lucky? Luck had nothing to do with it. You survived. You rebuilt. You remained kind when the world gave you every reason to become bitter. You earned this happiness. We earned it, Zara corrected. All three of us. The Second Chances Foundation opened its doors on Christmas Eve, exactly 2 years after Zara and Dae-jung had met. It was housed in a renovated brownstone in downtown Boston, 4 floors of safe, beautiful space designed to help women rebuild their lives after financial abuse. 16 residential rooms, a full legal clinic, job training center, therapy services, and childcare. Everything Zara had needed and more. The opening ceremony was packed. Mayor present. Press coverage. Donors and supporters filling every available space. But Zara only had eyes for 2 people. Amaya, now 9 years old, stood at the ribbon-cutting station in a red dress, beaming with pride. She'd helped design the children's area, insisted on a reading nook and art supplies in every room. And Dae-jung, standing slightly behind her, his hand resting protectively on her shoulder. He'd changed too over the past 2 years. Still dangerous, still commanding, but softer somehow. More human. He smiled now. Laughed at Amaya's jokes. Sang off-key in the shower. Let himself be loved. Ready? He asked Zara quietly. Ready. Together, with Amaya between them, they cut the ribbon. Cameras flashed. People applauded. But Zara was thinking about 2 years ago, sleeping in her car, working 3 jobs, believing she'd never be more than a cautionary tale. She'd been so wrong. Mama? Amaya tugged her hand. Are you crying? Happy tears, baby. Just happy tears. Because we helped people? Because we became people who could help. Zara kissed the top of her daughter's head. Because we survived and now we're making sure others can too. Later, after the ceremony ended and guests departed, the 3 of them stood in the empty foundation building, lights twinkling in the windows. Do you remember what you said to me that first night? Dae-jung asked, pulling Zara close. Which part? Amaya said I could borrow her mother. That you were good at making people feel better. Zara laughed. I remember. She was right. You are good at it. You made me feel human again. Made me remember what I was fighting for. He looked around the building. All of this, started because a little girl saw a sad stranger and offered him kindness. Because her mother opened a cafe door during a storm and let me in. And because you threw yourself between us and danger without hesitation, Zara added. Because you chose to protect instead of run. Because you proved that powerful men can be good men too. I'm not. You are. Zara cupped his face. You're not your father. You're not the monster he tried to create. You're the man who reads bedtime stories in 3 languages. Who makes pancakes shaped like animals every Sunday. Who donated $2 million to this foundation without blinking. Who loves me and my daughter like we're the most precious things in the world. You are, Dae-jung said fiercely. You're everything. Amaya, standing between them, looked up with a mischievous smile. Does this mean we're going to live happily ever after? I think so, Zara said. With Christmas every year? Every year. And no more bad people hurting us? Dae-jung knelt to her level. I can't promise we'll never face danger. My world is complicated. But I can promise I'll always protect you. Both of you. With everything I have. Okay. Amaya threw her arms around his neck. I'm glad you're my dad now. My real dad was mean. You're nice. Dae-jung's eyes closed, and Zara watched him hold their daughter with a tenderness that still took her breath away. I'm glad too, little moon, he whispered. I'm glad you saw something in me worth saving. Mama says everyone deserves kindness, Amaya said matter-of-factly. Even scary people. Especially scary people, because they probably need it most. Zara's heart cracked open. Her daughter, this beautiful, compassionate soul, had changed everything. Had seen past fear to humanity. Had offered love when the world demanded suspicion. She'd saved them both. Come on, Zara said, emotion thick in her throat. Let's go home. It's Christmas Eve. We have a tree to decorate and cookies to burn. You always burn the cookies, Amaya giggled. That's why we have Dad now. He knows how to use a timer. They walked out together into the snowy Boston evening, arms linked, a family built not from blood or obligation, but from choice and courage and the kind of love that survives anything. Behind them, the Second Chances Foundation glowed with warm light, a beacon for women who needed hope. Ahead of them, Christmas lights twinkled in windows, and somewhere in the distance, church bells rang. Zara thought about the girl she'd been 3 years ago, broken, alone, convinced she'd never be whole again. She'd been wrong. Because healing wasn't about erasing scars. It was about building something beautiful around them. It was about choosing to remain soft in a hard world. It was about letting people in even when fear said to build walls. It was about believing in second chances. For others. And for yourself. Mama? Amaya's voice cut through her thoughts. What are you thinking about? Zara smiled. I'm thinking that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Me too, Amaya said. Me three, Dae-jung added, squeezing Zara's hand. They walked home through the snow, 3 people who'd been lost and lonely and broken, now found. Now family. Now whole. And somewhere in the universe, kindness smiled. Because one little girl had looked at a dangerous stranger and offered him her mother's love. Because that stranger had chosen to be more than his worst impulses. Because that mother had chosen courage over fear. And because sometimes, just sometimes, the smallest act of compassion can change everything. If you made it to the end of the story, thank you so much for watching. Zara and Dae-jung's journey proves that redemption is possible, that families are built through choice, and that kindness can disarm even the most dangerous hearts. Please don't forget to like this video if you loved watching Zara rise from poverty to power, if Dae-jung's transformation touched you, or if Amaya's pure heart made you believe in the goodness of children. Subscribe to Revenge Cafe for more Afro-Korean dark romance stories where justice is served and love conquers all. Comment below and tell me, what was your favorite moment in this story? Should I do a part 2 showing their lives as a family dealing with Dae-jung's brother Minho? What kind of dark romance do you want to see next? Mafia boss? Secret baby? Enemies to lovers? To everyone celebrating this season, I wish you warmth, safety, and the courage to offer kindness even when the world demands hardness. Remember, you are always worth protecting. You are always worthy of love. And you always deserve a second chance. Until next time, stay strong, stay kind, and never stop believing in the power of redemption. See you in the next video. Heartsuit.